everyone, my name's Chloe. I'm in group 8 and we are presenting on The Truth About Stories, a Native Narrative by Thomas King. So I'll jump right into it. So the biggest line that really stuck out to me was actually the very first sentence in the book. And it is, "The truth about stories is that that's all that we are." So this resonated with me a lot because it reminded me of Mr. Siboney. If we remember him, he was a guest speaker. He's the Aleppo soap maker. So I just think because of Mr. Aleppo's story of going through all the adversities and tragedies that he has been through and migrating here to Canada, I just think how, with what Thomas King said, the truth about stories is that that's all that we are. And throughout the book, it's about oppression and discrimination and racism and his stories about that. And I just think, even though Mr. Siboney, he faced all of that, I want people to understand I'm not ignoring that. I'm not trying to, what's the word here? I'm not trying to say that that didn't happen or those really important themes aren't in the book, and I'm not trying to make them seem minuscule or I'm ignoring that fact. The thing is, though, is that even with Mr. Siboney, the Aleppo soap maker, he went through all those things. Unfortunately, that so many other immigrants and refugees and even people of just a different color, race, or ethnicity here in Canada face every day. My thing is, though, is that with his story and his culture and his skill set from his homeland, his country, he brought over to Canada and he made something of it. So I'm going to relate this back to a Muhammad Darwish poem. It's Another Road in the Road. So, there is yet another road in a road, another chance for migration. So for me, this poem really stuck out and related back to the sentence, "The truth about stories is that that's all that we are," and how this relates to Mr. Siboney is that, okay, this is his story. And he's taken his story and he realizes this is a road. This is the road that he's on. And you know what? This is the other road he wants it to be. He made it into his own journey, his own road. And he took his circumstances and what he was in, and he did with it what he willed. Just like what Thomas King said at the end of the first chapter. He said, take Charm's story for instance. It's yours. Do with it what you will. Tell it to your friends. Turn it into a television movie. Forget it. So for me, maybe I'm interpreting it wrong or reading it wrong, or maybe I do like to be on cloud 9 and I really like to find those silver linings and thinking positively. But for me, is that Mr. Siboney in Charms, for instance, like that story, is he took his story for what it was. He said, you know what, these are my circumstances, this is where I'm at, this is my story, this is my culture and my skill set, and this is what I can bring to the table onto this road, onto another road. So that's what I interpreted, I guess, in my head, through our themes of exile and homeland and oppression and discrimination and also racism with Thomas King, relating it to our class themes and everything, is with Mr. Siboney being the Aleppo soap maker. This is his story. He made it from, like Muhammad Darwish said, yet another road onto another road, another chance for migration. That's what he did. And he took it for what it was, and he made something beautiful out of it. So for me, the outside source that I'm going to be using to relate this all together, I guess, I hope this is making sense. I know I am talking really fast. Sorry, I'm very excited. Is we all know about the brand Coco Chanel, right? We all know about the Chanel perfume, the Chanel bags. But no one really knows the real origin of that story, of the story of who Coco Chanel was. So for me, Coco Chanel, I'm very inspired by her, not just because she's a woman, but what she did for that moment in time, her story. So Coco Chanel, she was the first woman in the fashion industry to create pants for women, or trousers as they would call it, and wear pants. She did not like dresses. She's like, nope, I'm not wearing that. And she would say, you know, call me ugly all you want, but I'm still not going to put on a dress. Same thing with corsets. She made clothing that didn't need a corset for women. And then she also was the woman that invented the little black dress. I know for guys that's not a big deal, but she was tired of women always having to buy new dresses and wearing new outfits all the time. She asked herself, if I could wear one outfit every day, what would it be? And she said the little black dress. So for her story in that moment in time, it was monumental what she did in the fashion industry, just for women in general. That we don't need to wear a corset, that we can wear pants, and we don't have to change our dress every single day for every single event. Because especially back then, right, events were a big deal. So I just thought that was beautiful, because now, as Thomas King also said, he talked about, where is it? 2 seconds. I am a listener to the languages, stories, and when my words form, I am merely retelling the same stories in different patterns. So, for example, Coco Chanel, her story started out as she was this poor seamstress back in the day, and then she blew up and became this huge fashion designer. But now, her origin story, her story of what actually happened and what the brand was to her, has turned into now this name brand, this global, like, monumental house name. And, you know, she's not here today to see that or to even know about it. Who knows? But, you know, it's crazy how these stories then can be retold and turn into something even bigger than that person could have ever imagined. So for me, Mr. Aleppo, maybe today his story seems small. Maybe for him and his family, you know, this is their road onto another road. But maybe in the years to come, this story of him being an Aleppo soap maker, now here in Canada, because he had to seek refuge here in Canada, I believe, or he migrated here to Canada, then might turn into a household name, might turn into a big, who knows what actually can happen with his story. And I think that's really beautiful, because as Thomas King said, the truth about stories is that that's all that we are. Our story is what is left behind, or what we have even right now is our story. So I think that is very beautiful. I think that is very important, especially through our class and all of the stories we've been hearing about exile and not having a homeland, and all these stories shared and their experiences and everything. I guess I just really wanted to turn a positive spin on all of the adversaries and tragedies and atrocities these people have had to go through their story, and these now become their stories. I just really wanted to share then a moment like Mr. Sibony and his very positive story that he's turned his story into, you know what I mean, like through all of his experience, and then his experience to come. His story isn't over, so we'll see. But I also just wanted to touch on today our class discussion. So about today and racism and about that poor little girl, our Gada's niece. I think that is absolutely awful. And how Thomas King in the second chapter, he talks about how someone stated to him that you're not the Indian that I imagined. I will never go through that in my life. I know that I will never be mistaken for anything other than a white woman, or, you know, a Canadian or American or whatever. I will never understand that aspect of a stereotype, a racial stereotype. I will, like, when I travel to third world countries, I do, but it's not in that negative sense. It's not in that belittling sense or superiority. They look at me and they think I'm rich. It's usually a positive outlook, right? So I'll never understand that. And that really just, the truth about stories is that that's all that we are. And unfortunately, even today, those stories are still being told. People from other countries, who are other cultures, other ethnicities and all these things, nationalities, are being placed into these racial stereotypes just based, again, on their skin color, or what Thomas King was talking about in his book, how this one man was just trying to find the ideal Indian, the perfect, you know, what we see in movies and everything. They wear the headdresses and the feathers and the bone necklaces and everything, and how in reality that's not true. Like, they're just people like us. Like, they're not these characters that, you know, that we've put into our head and stereotyped. So that really struck, that it's so sad that these stories are they're still happening as often as they did back then. Maybe a little bit more politely and quietly. But I just, that really struck a nerve. And I believe Thomas King's book, unfortunately, is still very relevant to today. And I wish things would change. But anyways, I know I've been rambling on. I hope my interpretation and connection of our themes and the 2 chapters on The Truth About Stories, A Native Narrative by Thomas King made sense, and how I tried to connect it all to Mr. Sibony and Muhammad Darwish's poem. So thank you all again. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you so much.